Peace is not spraying irritants and chemicals at peaceful protesters. It's not detaining a 5-year-old.
Kamala Harris piling on. She tweeted this, quote, Liam Ramos is just a baby. He should be at home with his family, not used as bait by ICE and held in a detention center in Texas. I'm outraged, she writes, and you should be too. But where was the outrage when 300,000 migrant children got lost in the document shuffle? Nobody knew where they were under the Biden administration. And heart-aching scenes like this, a terrified 10-year-old boy, unaccompanied, in tears at the border during the previous president. Vice President J.D. Vance and Border Chief Greg Bovino setting the record straight on behalf of their agencies today. Watch this.
The 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien, and then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death?
That 5-year-old remains with his family. Well, what about the angel moms now? How many victims of illegal aliens that should not be here in the United States are causing family separation for American citizens? We will continue unabated in our mission to ensure there are no more Rachel Morens separated from her 5 children.
Yeah, where is the weeping and the tears for these individuals? I talked to Joe Abraham today. His daughter, Katie, was killed by someone who was here illegally, and her friend. They were both in the car. And he said, you know, I'm already in the grave with her. What else can they do to me? So, Paul Morrow, in terms of procedure, I thought it was interesting when Vice President Vance says, well, what are they supposed to do with this child? The father takes off. Obviously, they're going to stay with the child until they can figure out the best thing to do going forward.
Of course they will. And there are all kinds of procedures for this. You're going to take the child. You're going to do everything you can to make sure the child feels secure, feels safe, because obviously it's a 5-year-old. And now it looks like they're going to put the child with the father, and they're both in detention relative to being deported, which is just a procedure. I can't count the number of lies in those clips. Like, for instance, Fry says not launching poison at peaceful protesters is what peace looks like. Peaceful protesters. They're shooting fireworks. They're throwing ice balls. They're blocking the streets. I don't know what city it is he's governing. Look, let's run down the chain here real quick relative to this canard. That's obviously the word bait was put out, right? That's the word they all got to go with now. The child was bait, and that has become the narrative. Find people hoax. Hands up, don't shoot. COVID from a wet mark. Laptop is fake. The border is secure. Crossfire hurricane. Trump is a Russian asset. Biden is fine. Cops shoot unarmed black men in the thousands every year. They're all lies. But they all get perpetuated because this is the media narrative that we're supposed to buy into. And look, even if you don't like what's going on relative to the way ICE is enforcing, that's the law. And if you don't like it, fair enough. But to lie about it is to tell. If you actually had something to stand on, you wouldn't be conjuring myths like they used a child as bait. You do that when you don't have anything else to stand on. Now, I want to make one quick point just to undercut all that a little bit. I do think it's time for the Trump administration to lead into carrot, because we see a lot of stick, okay? This is all about enforcement. Well, let's remember, the Trump administration came in saying, big, beautiful door, along with the big, beautiful wall. What I'd like to see is them do something like, as the head of the executive, he can swear in new citizens. Do it nationally. Do 10,000 new citizens by Zoom in cities across the country, because you got to show it's not all stick. We want legal migrants. You want to make that distinction, because very clearly you're not going to get anything but this narrative from the unfriendlies in the media.
Yeah, it's a good point. And there's some reporting that the administration isn't, you know, that some of this is problematic for them. But nonetheless, Jessica, you know, you go back to the original policy, which was, you know, you have an opportunity to self-deport, and we'll give you $2,600 if you decide to go through that process. If you don't, this is what DHS said, and you're here illegally, you will be eventually removed from the country.
Sure, and a lot of people have taken that opportunity. I think hundreds of thousands, maybe over 1 million people have self-deported. But the story that the family lawyer for this particular guy in question gave flies right in the face of what DHS is claiming. And if this lawyer is lying with this level of specificity, saying he came through a port of entry, he entered the asylum system, he has an application through the CBP1 app, he has been going to court appointments. I mean, that's a striking amount of detail for someone that's making it up.
Over to the agents
well,
and
I
say,
don't know. I don't
look,
know why the guy
I'm fine.
ran.
Here's my papers. I'm in the process. Why would he
Well,
run?
first of all, these agents don't seem to care about any of that. And on top of it, there was a school official who was driving her own children to school who saw what happened. And apparently there were voices coming from inside the house, people who lived with this boy who were saying, leave him with us. And I don't know if that's a mother.
From the car?
She got out, the school official, and she gave an interview.
The agent said they were trying to get the boy back into the house and they wouldn't open the door.
Anyway, there's a lot of conflicting information about this particular case.
There sure is.
It doesn't, but it doesn't
Stop
actually.
these folks like Jacob Fry from jumping all over it.
It actually doesn't matter. If Greg were here, he would say, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. So I think what we should do is we should listen to what law enforcement themselves are saying about how ICE is carrying out these operations in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and all over the country. The Minnesota Department of Corrections does a press conference. DHS is spreading persistent misinformation regarding ICE detainers. They need to set the record straight. Hennepin County Sheriff. ICE agents are racially profiling U.S. citizens, including off-duty cops. Brooklyn Park Police Chief. I've received endless complaints about civil rights infringements, including being stopped with no cause. Has happened to off-duty cops, too. All of them have been people of color. There are new court documents out with these new lawsuits about the conditions that these kids were being held in, talking about contained food with mold and worms, not enough water. A Texas medical examiner just ruled a death of a detainee in ICE custody, a homicide. He was choked so hard that blood vessels burst in his eyelids.
That's fake news.
And then in Maine,
it's fake, Jessica.
an ICE agent is talking to a woman who's a legal observer, and he says, why are you taking pictures? And she says, why are you taking pictures? And he says, because we have a nice little database, and now you're considered a domestic terrorist. We know they want to use administrative warrants, which is not how the Fourth Amendment works, to be able to break down doors. ICE is out of control. And if you don't want to believe the stories about what, the women are blocking traffic and it's about crazy protesters with blue hair and wine moms who don't have anything better to do, listen to law enforcement that are saying that ICE is not operating properly.
Jesse?
Well, first of all, of course.
Of course what?
Of course they detained this kid. What are they supposed to do, Jessica?
Deal with all the
Shove him
other
into
stuff.
an orphanage? Of course. We all agree we don't do family separation. We keep families together. So when an illegal is apprehended, you deport the entire family together. And the guy was given an opportunity to leave, and he didn't take it. So this is on him. And these ICE agents took this kid to lunch. They spent a lot of time with him. They're very experienced because so many of these illegals came across with children. They're dealing with a lot of these illegal alien families. And a lot of these ICE agents have families themselves, and they all have very big hearts. The lawyer lies. That shouldn't surprise you when a lawyer who we pay for through an NGO is assigned an illegal alien. He just acts like a defense attorney and says they came through an app. There's no record of that. You're also saying that someone was murdered at a detention facility. It's already been debunked weeks ago. Oh. The guy was trying to commit suicide, and the people were trying to save his life. All right? These detention centers are amazing. You get dental care. You get free health care. Have you ever seen the kind of concierge health care services they have at these detention facilities?
Yeah.
It's an amazing. Where did this guy come from? This guy came from Ecuador without any running water, Jessica. He's lucky to have these types of services. Let me just understand your position. Your position is that anybody in the world can cross into this country illegally with a kid and then stay here until they commit a crime, but then if they committed in a sanctuary city, we're not allowed to go get him because you guys protect him. And
he didn't commit a crime. He had no deportation order even.
Yes, he did. And I'm saying even if they do commit crimes, you still don't want us to deport them. Yes, you do. You guys are protecting these people.
All right, you didn't deal with anything that I said, Jesse.
Yes, I went down the list, Jessica.
Really?
Let's say that that's true. Let's say that everything Jessica's saying is true. All the more reason to self-deport. all the more reason to come in this country the right way, because if you do it the wrong way, the monsters are going to get you. But let's forget about all this. Let's take an American citizen. Let's take me. Say I have a suspended driver's license and my tags aren't paid for, and I'm driving with my children and I get pulled over, and I could get a ticket or I could go to jail. And my son's in the back seat in his little baby seat. And when I get out of the car and the police officer comes over to me and I take off running, are any of the, and then I'm arrested and my kid ends up in social services for the night, are any of these people going to come run to my aid? Because I really didn't commit a rough crime. I just didn't pay my parking tickets for 5 years. So again, it doesn't matter. As a father, you guys love to support you are the party of the deadbeat dads. There is not any situation in my lifetime, whether I was convicted for assault, manslaughter, whatever I was selling drugs, whatever I was doing, to where I would run and abandon my child. I would have said, you got me, fellas. Before you arrest me, can I make a call so I can get my child somewhere? That's what a father does. That's the guy that I would support. That's the guy like, yeah, he didn't come in the right way, but listen to this guy, he cares about his kid. He took off running. He didn't look back. He was out. If you can run from your child in the snow, from what supposedly is the biggest monster ever, I would die defending my children before I would run and abandon them and leave them to this horrible monster. So I don't care what the arguments is. Based man to man, father to father, the reason why your son's where he is because you ran, period. If you had all these things, those are easy things to prove. Well, I did this. I was in a song. Thanks for coming, guys. I get the misunderstanding, officer. Here's my paperwork. I'll get it straightened out. That's not what he did. He said he took off running. And anyone knows if you run from the police, that you usually have a reason to.
If he was genuine through the app, he wouldn't have run.
Exactly.
All right, thank you. I think Paul's idea is really interesting of taking 10,000 people who are on the list and saying, okay, you know what? We're going to have a huge ceremony. You're going to become citizens of this country.
Those things are
You did it
emotional,
the right
man.
way.
You choke up.
I think it's a really interesting idea. All right.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.